Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Portugal Makes Sense conferences. This panel will be about engineered parts and solutions at the core of Portugal's industrial DNA. Metalworking, mechanical and electrical equipment are Portugal's leading exports. These industries have moved up from a reliable sourcing to a sourcing of industrial innovation by providing differentiated solutions based on innovation in customer-centric services, critical in an era of deglobalisation and decentralized production. Before this discussion, we would like to turn your attention to the opening remarks by João Neves, the Portuguese State Secretary of the Economy.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank the Hannover Messe for welcoming us, giving a unique opportunity to show the Portuguese industrial DNA together with the main global players in the industry. Indeed, development and growth of our economies should be driven by innovation and the increase of our competitiveness with the creation of high-quality products. The metalworking, mechanical and electrical equipment are good examples of this strategy, being high-relevant sectors in Portugal and our main exporters. For instance, after increasing their exports by 16% in 2021, the metalworking and mechanical sectors reached their best record in March, exporting almost 2 billion euros. Following the global trends, these industries have intensified digital transformation, integrating new production process, including the integration of additive manufacturing technologies, robotization, and automation of production. They have moved up in the value chain and have diversified by exploring new market opportunities in different sectors, mainly by the development of innovation and the incorporation of solutions with higher complexity. These sectors present innovation rates higher than average in the country, with 40% of companies with innovative activity in metalworking and 54% of the companies in mechanical and electrical equipment. Moreover, these are very dynamic activities which represent around 300 million in R&D. To pursue their activities, these sectors have developed innovation projects in collaboration amounting more than 200 million euros in networking involved around 700 partners, including companies, research and higher education institutions, and also interface institutions. These projects require an increasing integration within the national innovation system and establish of regional and national networks and collaboration for innovation. This also includes an increasing participation in international partnerships and active participation in horizon projects, engaging in the development of future technologies such as augmented reality and computer vision. After 2 years constrained by the COVID-19 pandemic, the recovery of the European economy will take place in an exceptional challenging context. The Portuguese and the European reindustrialization must be focused to reinforce our strategic autonomy and to respond to the challenges of the future, building the pillars for the smarter, greener, and more technological growth. Thank you.
In the innovative context, the link between science and industry is key. We invite on stage Alexander Kurz, Executive Vice President of Innovation, Transfer and IP Management at the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, world's leading applied research organization.
Thank you very much. dear Secretary Neves, dear esteemed colleagues and friends from Portugal, thank you so much for inviting Fraunhofer today to give an introductory remark to this session. I'm glad to be here and to give some input and some views on Portugal and our collaboration and the topic of this afternoon. As you all know, we are facing big challenges. The current situation, I don't want to talk too long, but we are all aware of this, the political situation, all these challenges that are ahead, despite the war in Ukraine, like COVID and other things, require cooperation, trust and friendship among European states and countries. And we are doing this together with Portugal. We are standing together and of course, to solve all these challenges, and you mentioned some of them, also in the technical sector, to achieve a certain technological sovereignty, to have our own responsible systems, we need innovation. We need joint innovation, we have to innovate and to bring our systems, despite all these political agendas, to innovation and to application of innovation. And here Portugal is an important partner. And I think development and innovation is also at the heart of the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft. Just a very brief, in a nutshell, to Fraunhofer, we are employing 30,000 staff in Germany. We are the largest organization for applied research in Europe, and our mission is to bring academic results into practice, into industry, into application. We are running 76 institutes in Germany, and we also do have subsidiaries in other countries, and we are proud that we have been in Portugal since 2008. Come to this in a moment, and our head of our Portugal subsidiary is here. She will talk just following my short introduction. So, Fraunhofer is working on different levels in different areas. We have grouped our 76 institutes into groups such as production, materials, light and surfaces, informatics and communication technologies, innovation, and also health and all these things. So we are grouping our institutes, and our mission is applied research, as I said. So 25% of our budget is institutional funding, which is grants that we receive from federal and state governments, and a bit more than 70% is self-generated revenue, income with research, contract research with industry, also publicly funded research, but money to be acquired in competition, and all these transfer channels that you might know, like startups or IP programs, licensing, also transfer of people into industry. So we are working on this. We have been founded in 1949, and we are there since a long time with all our technologies and everything we can offer. Also in these new areas, of course, in the machinery area, in the metal area, everything you said, production areas, I think we have good basis for future collaboration. So we need partners also internationally, and we are proud, as we have seen Portugal already in beginning of the 2000s, and Fraunhofer has been invited at the time by the Portugal Ministry of Higher Education and Research to reflect about having a subsidiary in Portugal, and we founded the Association in Portugal, which started with IT matters, with applied IT, and we are actually planning, and we are in good contact with our Portuguese colleagues to enlarge this into other areas such as water and smart agriculture, which are important topics where Portugal could also play a good role. We have seen Portugal developing, and it's really a rising star. It's even a star already, but what you did in your transformation of your country, also with your world competition, I think world competition institutions on higher education, it's an important place to do joint research and joint innovation initiatives. So it's good that we are here. We are looking forward to further good collaboration. The topics that are presented this afternoon will show this, and I'm certain that we have many joint possibilities ahead. And so I would like to thank you for listening, and we are really looking forward to our further collaboration. We are very closely collaborating with your Ministry of Research, but it's great and also good that the Ministry of Economics is there. This is our mix research and economy, because this is the heart of our mission. And so I thank you for attending this session here, and if you have further questions to Fraunhofer, we are around. We are in Hall 5 also, if you have the time to have a tour and visit us on our booth here at the Hannover Messe, but we are also represented by our Portuguese Managing Director and head of our Portuguese subsidiary, Mrs. Ferreira, who will talk afterwards, but I think it's not me to announce her. So thanks a lot.
Now, to guide us through this debate, we introduce you to our moderator, Miguel Leixenring Franco, current co-CEO of Schmidt & Sohn Elevators Portugal and former president of the German-Portuguese Chamber of Industry and Commerce.
Thank you. A warm welcome also from my side. Thank you for attending this conference. Metalworking, mechanical and electrical equipment are Portugal's leading export industries. Historically integrated in European supply chains based on quality, reliability and flexibility. These industries have moved up in the value chain, providing differentiated solutions based on innovation and customer-centric services that are now more than ever critical in the context of deglobalisation and decentralised production. Our objective today is to present the opportunities to source, partner and invest in Portugal. For that, we have with us a very fine group of experts that will share with us their rich experience. With me in this panel, we have Vitor Neves, the president of IMAP, Association of Metallurgical and Mechanical Engineering Industry and similar industries in Portugal, if I may say the Portuguese VDMA. Professor Liliana Ferreira, the executive director from Fraunhofer Portugal. Miguel Gil Mata, CEO from Adira. Patricia Vilas Boas, People and Communication Director from Schmidt Light Metal. And last but not least, Pedro Oliveira, my good friend, Managing Director from Leica Portugal. Thank you all for being here. Now, let's start with Victor. What is IMAP and what does it represent?
May I go to the podium,
Please,
if you don't mind?
The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to start by thanking ICEP for setting up this whole organization, leading the effort of the whole country with the IMAP and the Chamber of Commerce. I would like also to thank the Portuguese government, although I think we now don't have any member of the Portuguese government here, but I think it's very important for the people who are really in this exhibition and the people in the booths, in the people really exhibiting and showing the good things we do in Portugal. It's really good to have the commitment, to see the commitment of the Portuguese government with the Prime Minister yesterday. And, you know, one minister, 3 secretaries of state, the whole time here. It's really important for us to really show the commitment. I need the, sorry. Thank you. So, so I'll speak a bit about the industry. So, as you can see there, the metallurgical and metalworks sector in Portugal represents around 15,000 companies, 240,000 employees. We work with more than 200 different markets, and a very important number, the total exports of the sector are very close to 20 billion euros. The ratio of sales to GDP, although we understand it's not a technically very correct indicator, but just to give you a magnitude of what the sector represents, 14% of the Portuguese GDP. But the most important one is the one below in blue, which shows that roughly 35% of the value added of the Portuguese industry, the total of the Portuguese industry, is produced by this particular sector. If we just talk about exports, those 20 billion euros of exports represents roughly 60% of the total activity of the sector in Portugal. The sector represents roughly 30% of the total manufacturing industry in the country. And what you have there at the bottom is, or are, the most important exports company. UK, Germany, Spain, France, USA and Italy. With these countries, we make roughly 75% of the exports of this particular industry. So what we can see here is that the very significant part of the industry is done with very demanding, the most demanding countries in the world, which means that this industry has to have all the ingredients, must fulfill all the requirements of these countries. As the Secretary of State has mentioned, exports have doubled in the last 10 years. They have reached new higher levels in the first quarter in spite of all the difficulties that we know that we are all experiencing. If we just go very briefly, what we believe are the reasons for success of this industry, the first one in our view is clearly the quality of the Portuguese engineering, not only the quality of the Portuguese engineering universities, but all the environment surrounding it, all the institutions that are part of the Portuguese academy that are involved in this big effort of really developing the Portuguese engineering, together with, I would say, all the education in technical areas, right? It's not only about engineering, as you have heard in previous conferences. People in Portugal speak very good English. If we go to other areas like finance and so on, you will also experience the same level of expertise as we have in our engineering. In our particular industry, our technical training center, same thing, is a crucial tool for the success of the industry. Only last year, same thing is a training center specific for this industry, which has 13 centers across the country. Portugal is not a big country, as we all know, but same thing has 13 centers across the country. Only last year, 15,000 trainees for 1,000 companies have been trained in Safing. To give you a very simple example of the importance of Safing for the industry, if we talk about, for instance, a company, still small company in Portugal, part of the Airbus group, which is going to employ something like 250 people until the end of last year, and everybody is trained at same thing even before they do day one at the company, right? Just for you to see the importance of the training that this institution provides. Then, if we talk specifically about the engineered parts and solutions, what we see is more and more a higher incorporation of innovation, and not only, just doing what we are told to do, but more and more going into product development, process engineering, and in fact, coming from a situation in which the industry were basically just suppliers of what is being required, we are more and more partners of the industry in terms of product development and process development. What you have here is just a snapshot of some of the companies that you find, in all of these exhibitions, from laser cutting, welding, machining, foundry stamping. So this is just as I said, a snapshot of the companies you can find. But more importantly is what you have here, some of the most important customers or partners of this industry. And again, what you see here, combined with the export countries that I have shown 3 or 4 slides before, what you see here is the highest demanding companies in the world work with the Portuguese metallurgical and mechanical engineering industry. Now, if we talk about IMAP, the association I represent, you have our mission there. So basically, we try to foster and promote innovation within the industry. As I said, training, internationalization, so organizing exhibitions, fairs like these ones is a crucial activity. And we really try to foster and promote the cooperation between companies. For instance, just as an example, in Portugal, we do the buying of the energy, electricity and gas for most of the associates of our association, which has brought, in fact, significant value for those companies. Finally, just to show you our dream team, so as we stand to our claim here, so we believe that we know who in the industry, so whatever you need in Portugal, in this industry, these are the people who will make it happen. Thank you.
Peter, thank you very much for your intervention. Liliana, innovation, research and development, and knowledge transformation. What does Fraunhofer do, and which activities does it bring to the ecosystem? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me take this just for time control. So, thank you very much. Good afternoon to all. It is a pleasure to be in here talking to you a little bit about Fraunhofer in Portugal, about the role of Fraunhofer in this ecosystem. But first of all, of course, I would like to thank ICEP, the Portuguese-German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for the invitation to be here today, sharing with you a little bit of the path of Fraunhofer in Portugal over the last years. Well, I have my job already made easy because we had already a very deep or very thorough introduction about Fraunhofer and its activities, its purpose. So I will, of course, focus on the activities of Fraunhofer in Portugal, and most important, answering this question, what is the role that we are developing in Portugal? Well, to start by that and to go directly to some hints, to some arguments of what is this role that we are playing in Portugal, I would say that we bring innovation, and we heard already a lot about the importance of innovation in this ecosystem. We bring knowledge, we bring highly qualified, competent people, we bring agility, we bring the capability of responding quickly to market demands, to the needs of our clients. We bring, well, the capability to serve this multi-layered transformation that we are living currently, the complete or continuous change, continuous challenges that are brought to us. I certainly have to, okay, so these are some of the points that I would like to bring to discuss with you. So this role of Fraunhofer in Portugal, the importance of industry to our activity, it was already mentioned, but also the need to understand customer needs, deploy the latest technologies, and bring this fast to the market, innovation as a partner for industry. To show you this and to detail a little bit more what we can do, and using an expression that was widely used already in this conference to show not only what is made in Portugal, but created and made in Portugal, so we listened a lot to that. I would like to show our path in Portugal since actually 2008. We were one of the first centers of Fraunhofer to be created outside of Germany in Europe, together with Austria, so that is a reason, of course, of being proud. It shows also the trust that was already mentioned in what is built and made in Portugal. We are an association, non-profit research associations of public common interest, founded by two very important partners, Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, you heard about it, but also the German-Portuguese Chamber of Industry and Commerce, showing in here the importance of industry as a partner to our activity. We operate two centers at the moment. ICOS, the first center that was created together with the creation of Fraunhofer Portugal. ICOS stands for Assistive Information and Communication Solutions. So we talk about information and communication solutions, about artificial intelligence, machine learning, about optimization, modeling, prediction, also about IoT, about sensorization, about computing, but most important, about developing technologies that fit the human needs. Technologies together with people, for people. This is the role of ICOS in Portugal. We have recently a new center, AVAM, a system or smart agriculture and water management, more related with the challenges of sustainable agriculture, water reuse, water reutilization, energy systems, which positions, I believe, Fraunhofer Portugal in a very interesting place when it comes to tackling this double transition that is on the top of our minds, the green and the digital one. So the set of competencies that are in here created allows us also to reply to those challenges in a very interesting way. Industry is certainly our partner, but not the only one. We have more than 100 researchers that come not only but also from our academic partners, the very important partners for Fraunhofer, partner of ICOS, the University of Porto, for AVAM, the University of Trás-os-Montes in the north of Portugal, the University of Évora in the south interior, that brings us the knowledge, the scientific competence that together with this know-how of transferring to industry, of adding value to our customers and to our partners that Fraunhofer has for more than 70 years is, I believe, the secret of how we operate. We do this in several ways. Our main goal is, of course, to contribute to the economic growth of the country, but also to the social well-being. We work with our partners in a variety of ways, being it strategic partnerships specially tailored to the needs of our clients, being it participation in large multi-partner projects that normally are funded being by national funds, the ones that are available, or by European funds. We can also work as a one-off contract, replying to a specific need of a client in a specific moment, meaning this bringing an innovator, supporting the research and development of an innovative product and supporting, bringing it to the markets. International cooperation, you heard already about the dimension of Fraunhofer, so supporting this cooperation between our partners and other Fraunhofers, it's also one of these ways. Spin-offs, well, several ways that we use to do this. And of course, this is, I believe, and I hope that by now I've already at least answered part of the question that was posed by Miguel. This is, I believe, the role of Fraunhofer in Portugal in this ecosystem. And to make in here this transition to the specific cases, success cases of industry that we are going to listen to, I would just like to give you two examples of what is the way and how we work in Portugal. I have in there some colleagues that are seeing themselves, it's true. So this is an example of, well, I would call it a strategic partnership with Schmidt, actually in here represented. So we had until now 2 challenges that were brought to us by Schmidt, who produces and provides maintenance to elevators in Portugal. The most recent one was related with data management. So Schmidt has access to a huge amount of data that comes from their remote monitoring system of the elevators, and they wanted to ensure that this data that is acquired was actually transmitted or arrived to their technicians in actions, in actionable knowledge. So only the data that would make sense would arrive to their technicians and in the sense of action. But that is actually not the example that we have in there. The example that we have in there is another project, an initial project. What you see in there are some of our researchers in the factory, and they are acquiring data using an inertial measurement unit developed in collaboration with us. And they are acquiring data from the doors because Schmidt wanted actually to improve their automatic stop mechanism of the doors to ensure that it would detect faster, of course, the need to stop and react faster. So these are our colleagues collecting data, and so one of the ways that we can work with industry, but actually the system and the device that they are using in there is part of another very important partnership, one that demonstrates the transfer of ideas and innovations, in this case, into companies, so IP, knowledge that was generated inside Fraunhofer, Portugal, that was transferred and allowed, in this case, a startup, a German startup, Sensory, that was already collaborating with Fraunhofer and developing a technology with Fraunhofer, but that understood that by licensing and using the technology that was developed by us, in this case, would allow them to actually reach the market faster, would actually allow them to start having clients and operating much faster. And that was, it's a great example also of a win-win situation, because it also allowed us to produce solutions and continue to innovate using this technology and, well, continuing to build and contribute to this ecosystem, which is in reality our purpose. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let us now look deeper into 3 company cases that are operating in Portugal. Starting with Adira and Miguel, we will be looking into the role of additive manufacturing in industrial production processes. Miguel, 2 questions. Can you present your company in a few words? And what is the role of additive manufacturing in industrial production processes today and tomorrow?
Thank you, Miguel, and good afternoon, everyone. Adira is a manufacturing company, an equipment manufacturing company. It's a 60-year-old company that has been acquired by Sonai Capital recently and is now part of a larger conglomerate. And I think the pitch that Vitor has just made is actually what led Sonai to invest in a company operating in the metal industry in Portugal, just as a side note. So Adira conceives, designs, and produces equipment for the metal forming industry, namely press brakes, shears, and has been doing that for many decades. And as a strategic bet of the company, we try to innovate and offer customized solutions, automated solutions for our customers, rather than standard solutions. And with the existing skills in the company, we have recently started a new business line, which is additive manufacturing. And indeed, we have split the two activities, given that they are so different in reach so different in the type of customers, in the markets that they serve. So they are now they have just become two separate business units. That's very briefly there in a nutshell. Now, in terms of additive manufacturing and its future, I believe that additive manufacturing in itself is not a new concept, of course. It's rather, at least as old as subtractive manufacturing. But it has been evolving a lot. Even though I don't believe that it will, let's say, overthrow any other manufacturing processes, it is conquering slowly or rather fast, is conquering niches in the market, serving special needs. As the technology evolves, the technology has been evolving in terms of scope, in terms of speed, which is very important in additive manufacturing, in terms of materials. We started with a few polymers, and now we can 3D print almost anything in any type of material. It's evolving in terms of mechanical properties of the parts that are produced with this technology. It's evolving in terms of surface quality of those parts, in terms of reliability, and even in terms of size. And I can come to that in a moment. But there's something very important that I think it's worth mentioning, and it will be, I believe, very critical leverage of additive manufacturing looking forward. And that is, let's call it, additive manufacturing-like design. Because we engineers have been designing machines for decades, always thinking on existing technologies. And the true leverage of additive manufacturing is not to better produce the parts that we have and that we use to produce with subtractive technologies. The really transformation is to start designing new parts that we had not thought of before, because we didn't have the technology to manufacture them. And that's the real trick, I guess, with additive manufacturing, is that different mindset that has to start early in academia, I would say, so that designers can think of machines differently because they can be manufactured in different ways.
Thank you very much, Miguel. The next company will be related to outperforming solutions in aluminium die casting. Schmidt Light Metal. Patricia, can you please describe Schmidt Light Metal activity in Portugal?
Yes, hello, good afternoon everyone. So we've been operating in Portugal since 1989. No sound.
No
yes.
sound, yes.
It had to be me.
No problem.
Okay, now.
It will be solved. It's
okay,
solved.
done.
Okay, thank you.
So good afternoon again. So Schmidt Light Metal is operating in Portugal since 1989. We were born by the hand of two German businessmen who wanted to invest in Portugal. They decided to implement their business in Oliveira das Meixas, where we still are today, because it was then, as it is now, the second major tool producer in Portugal after Marinha Grande. So they had foundries in Germany. They wanted to implement further on into Europe, and they chose Portugal. Very funny story. So in the end, Mr. Cooper left the society in 2006. But until that time, he never ever visited his investment in Portugal, which is quite curious. So in 2006, the company transformed into a Portuguese and German-owned family business. We are a foundry by nature. We began with 9 employees producing high-cast, high-pressure aluminium components for automobiles. We've been supplying OEMs since our beginning, and the company has been growing as most and investing in other areas that in the end complement our solution. So I would say that first we were mere suppliers of components, and gradually we invested in other areas. So not only the foundry that we still have today and is our main business, our state-of-the-art unit, let's say, but we also produce our own tools, so our own molds. and we also machine. And recently, we have our own unit in Austria, so we are machining and assembling in Austria as well as in Portugal. This is quite a transformation, but this enables us to be closer to our clients and to offer different levels of machining and assembling to different parts that are all made in Portugal in the end. One of the other transformations I would say is that we were providing parts in the beginning. Then we were partners with our clients, because this is also the way the automotive industry works, in partnerships. But I would say that these days we are much more co-creators of a solution than just the ones that receive something to provide in terms of engineering and development. We spoke about innovation a lot. I think this is one of our big leaps, let's say, in terms of what we can offer. But this has to be done not only in development, but then has to be transferred into our processes. So into the way we produce our tools, in the way they are used in the foundry, and then how we machine with different levels of quality that are demanded. The automotive industry is very, 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 very high demanding. So quality standards are a must-have, not a wishful thinking situation, and that is really what we've been working for through all these years. So we have 20 high-pressure die casting machines that go from 500 tons locking force to 2,200. So this also enables us to combine different parts, not only in terms of volume, but also in terms of the difficulty, the complexity that each part, in the end, we bring out. These larger machines not only enable us to make different, more complex parts, but also will take us to our next step that we've already been working on, which is structural parts, parts that are done with primary leagues, that then we can add also heat treatment as an add value service to our clients. So that's us. Right now we are around more or less 400 employees working from Oliveira das Meias, so we are very proud of this path we've been making and that we will continue to make through the years.
Very interesting case. Thank you, Patricia. Looking now into high precision mechanics and optics, let us talk with Pedro from Leica. Pedro, what does Leica do in Portugal?
Maybe I start with sound check. Yeah, I think it's working. So good afternoon, everybody, again. So thanks for the invitation. Really a big pleasure being here, having the chance to talk a little bit about Leica. So what does Leica do in Portugal? That's honestly a question that a lot of people worldwide ask, because, you know, Leica, it's known as a, with the German products, and Leica is in Portugal since 1973. So Leica started on June of 73 in Portugal, producing a few lenses or some lenses and optics. And then it was really, and it is, and we hope it still be a history of success. So the company has been developed on producing more complex optics, then started producing the mechanics, because we know the region also in the north of Portugal, as we also heard from other colleagues, has a lot of added values on that point. Then we grew on the mechanics. Yeah, and in the end, after a few years, we were doing also a lot of sub-assemblies. Sub-assemblies for the Leica binoculars, for the Leica cameras that you can find worldwide, as well for the Leica lenses. By lenses, I mean objectives. Yeah. Yeah, so I would also point out since 2013, it was really a huge milestone, because Leica invested in a 22 million new company, a new facility. Yeah, and we had the opportunity to plan and to install a complete new plant, which is 5 kilometers away from the existing one. But that enabled us to a huge ramp up, more than producing more, was really having more and more competences. So in the nowadays we are at 800 workers company, We produce high precision optics, mechanics. We also produce electronics. We do several sub-assemblies for our cameras and lenses. And we produce a lot of binoculars, or as we know in our industry, of sport optic products, which are the binoculars, the rifle scopes, the spotting scopes. And in that segment, we have an added competence because we produce them all, which are made in Portugal products and delivered from the plant in Portugal worldwide. We have also the customer service, as we call it, customer care. So each like a client or user of a binocular when he has a problem and makes a call to the contact center, so someone in Famalicão will answer and his product will be then delivered to Famalicão and repaired and sent back. So it's a competence that we have since a few years ago. And we also have obviously invested into a lot of engineering and process development, even on product development on that area. I would point even out, last but not least, so we created recently also a small division that we call it industrial business, in which we also provide using the existing know-how and technologies. We also provide some other industries, and all in one. That more or less describes what SLIKE is doing in Portugal right now.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much. I will come back to Miguel and about Adira and the role of additive manufacturing in industrial production processes. What is Adira doing specifically in the additive manufacturing area?
Well, let's try to explain in a couple of minutes. We operate on a type of technology that's called laser powder bed fusion. It's a type of additive manufacturing technology, which is, of course, highly competitive. And we've come up with an innovative solution for large-scale printing, large parts. The laser power bed fusion technology is very hard to scale. If you want to print larger parts, it will be at the same time much more expensive to build a machine capable of doing it, and on the other hand, more challenging, technically speaking, because you have to keep a very controlled and tight atmosphere within the laser fusion environment, and it becomes increasingly difficult as you scale up the machine. What we have developed is a technology, patented technology, that uses a moving chamber, a moving controlled environment that then is able to be scalable virtually without limits. And I am in a condition to confirm that industry is truly Fraunhofer's partner, as we have a partnership with Fraunhofer and developed this technology together with Fraunhofer. In several years of development that now at this moment. We have some of the intellectual property. Some of the intellectual property is Fraunhofer's property. This has been a very fruitful partnership. So our machine is nowadays evolved from prototypes into commercial products, and is now 1 by 1 meter by half a meter in height, so half a cubic meter in overall volume, and it's possible to scale it up to customers' needs, and we are indeed already working on a 1 by 1 by 1 offer to a specific client. So we believe that we have created our own niche within the market.
Very interesting. Thank you, Miguel. Patricia, can you explain us in more depth how Schmidt Leitmetall benefited from its experience in such a competitive sector as the automotive?
Yes, so all good? All good, okay. So as I told you before, we've always operated in the automotive industry, but in the beginning as suppliers of a small part that we made then to the Volkswagen Group. But already then, back then in 1989, it was already very demanding. And this industry has evolved not only in quality standards that change and innovate in terms of scale of demand every single day, because in the end, automobiles are driven, well, for now, by people, and we are more demanding every day. We want more safety, we want more comfort, we want some more speed, some more appliances in our vehicles, it depends. But the industry has to keep up with all these demands and these transfers into their suppliers in the end, us. So with all this, with all the demands that they bring and they ask for, it does not only relate to quality, but to other standards. So the automotive industry is highly demanding in compliance standards, highly demanding in security and safety information, and now the new model that has been transforming, as we all know, the famous CSR into this ESG model that the United Nations has prescribed and that we are all working on most likely right now. So this gives you a level of output that you need to bring, as I said before, not as a wishful thinking, but as a way of working every day. So this is incorporated into our DNA. Let us not forget that when we make a part that goes to a car, that car is going to drive families. It's going to drive maybe students. So we also have, as a way of work, a civil responsibility, let's say, that we know that the part has to meet certain standards, not just because it's demanded by our client, but because in the end it saves lives. So that we all have this in our minds when we work every single day, and this goes from the operator on the shop floor to the engineers and the top management and the board, of course. One of the things that's very interesting that in this past 2 years has brought some big disruptions in the automotive industry is that we have a way of work which is called just-in-time. Everyone knows it. It's been in the market for many years. But this means that there are no, well, maybe I cannot supply you today. So you actually have to be prepared for higher volumes, lower volumes, but to supply on time with demanded quality. And this gives you and enables you to be fast, agile, which is much more than just being fast, not only in the solutions you have to provide, but also in having the products ready when the client needs them. One of the things that also very industry is that we produce, it's serial production, so it's not, we produce components that are in series, some bigger, some smaller, it depends. We range in terms of clients from the Volkswagen Group, as I told before, that incorporates big brands like Audi, but also smaller brands like Porsche or Lamborghini, Maserati, Bentley. So it depends. We won't see that many Maseratis running in our streets, but our parts go to them as well. So it's really knowing where to go. And because of all these factors, we've become, as I said, co-creators with our clients. And we spoke a lot about engineering in Portugal. We have to say that in the end, and I have to emphasize that because it's also part of the Portuguese campaign from ICEP, which I've said before and I must congratulate again. We are talking about talented people. It's not just, we've spoke a lot about innovation, creativity, but in the end, it's the Portuguese people that do make the difference. I cannot emphasize that enough. We have a grit that it's uncommon to be seen. We never, ever let go until we reach a solution. We are resilient, and that makes us a very good partner to have. Someone that you can reach out and you know that you won't be let down. So all these factors, so quality, compliance, the mindset to work with the responsibility that you know where your product is going to be, all these, I think that gives us a high standard of service to the client, and the way we work that can be transported to other levels and the industries that are also as demanding as our own, and that we know are also the future. So,
Are you thinking about other industries?
Yes, I think we've come to a mature market in terms of the automotive industry. We are partners, I would say, for life with this industry, but we are able today, with investments we've been making in bigger machines, more sophisticated equipment, different treatments, all these things afford us the possibility to work into other markets as demanding as this industry is already. So I would say that we are ready to take that leap, with never forgetting our DNA, but that actually it's what gives us the extra mile to compete in other industries.
Thank you. Coming back to Pedro and his world of high precision mechanics and optics, what are the main challenges of producing high precision mechanics and optics in Portugal to be integrated in premium products?
Maybe I would start using some similar words, because in the end it's all about people, yeah? So producing high precision optics, high precision mechanics, obviously we have to combine the most talented or the high skills of the work power, as well the best-in-class equipment, yeah? I would also emphasize that once we produce, once we are able, there is also always a big challenge, that is we must keep innovating, yeah? So because once we are able to do that, if we don't keep innovating, so very quickly we will lose that power. And keeping innovating the processes means, as I also think on the process engineering. Process engineering must be very strong, because if you don't have a strong process engineering, then we will never have a strong production. And it's really a combination. And in our case, in the case of Leica, also the strong process engineering means so that we can have it, that we can also establish a very fluent way of communication with our German colleagues, yeah? Because we have the design, we have the process engineering more or less in between, and then we have the production, and that is a life cycle, because the inputs of the production are mandatory for the next cycle of the development of the next generation of the next product. And if we do not know the product perfectly, we will never be able to be in the highest level of the high precision, yeah? So producing only by the drawing, by the technical features, it's one thing. In the highest standard, we really have to know what is this part, each single part is going to do in the product. If we can do that, then we can have the premium products in the market. So the communication in Germany, it's obviously very important, and I think Portugal, it's very strong on that. So we see, if we compare with some other regions in Europe and even around the world, we are very, very strong on that. Second thing or third thing, so from process engineering to the communication with Germany, I would emphasize also, so it was also mentioned in the beginning, so the existence of very big, very strong universities, very strong institutes for research. It's really very, very important. And as I mentioned again in the beginning, so that's enable us to be on the constant innovation, and the constant innovation allow us to be in the constantly in the high premium solutions. And obviously, last but not least, for an ecosystem, it's very important that we also have the cluster of suppliers around, which is really, really very important to make the whole thing work in the end. So, I mean, not only suppliers able to deliver parts, but suppliers able to develop tooling systems together with you, suppliers able to optimize production cycles, and suppliers able to have a quick response to the maintenance of the machines and the whole value chain. So, and the high precision optic and mechanics for the premium products hands when we have the whole value chain. That means the milling, the machining, the processing, and the coatings. And that's something that we are also very strong in Portugal from the universities. So we see we have well-known researchers in terms of nanotechnologies, for example, which use a lot in our lenses or in our optical products. And we also have well-known researchers in the mechanical side. So, and I think altogether describes in a way the big challenges of producing the high precision for premium products.
Very good. Thank you very much. We will now open the floor for questions and answers from the audience. Please feel free to ask your questions to our experts. No one?
I think we have an easy choice.
Just sit. Okay, I just wrote down another question that I would like to open for everyone. Decentralized production is for sure a topic in this new world context we are living in. And what do you think are the main opportunities in Portugal to source, partner, and invest?
Shall I?
Yeah.
Shall I? By the same order. I think that the world nowadays, as it stands, increasingly challenging geopolitical situation, opens up opportunities for a country like Portugal. A country which is located in Europe as far as possible from main areas of conflict nowadays, with stable politics, with a skilled workforce. I think this works, we can take advantage of this situation, we can have opportunities to explore. And I believe that we are becoming increasingly attractive to anyone. So I think that there is indeed true opportunities for Portugal to enhance its position in terms of a hub of sourcing for any type of operation, not only lower value added, but high value added operations.
Okay. The view from IMAP?
Yeah, I would say Miguel summarized it very well. In this particular industry, I think we have a track record, right? So I would say we should have every reason to believe that we can continue the same path that we have followed in the many last years, right? As Miguel was saying, we have the right competencies, we have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have the people. So I believe that this industry may continue to be one of the most important engines for growth of the country and for value creation. And of course, because we are a small country, there's, one of the ways, probably the most important ways, to really partner with people from outside the country, and in this particular case, with German companies, it's absolutely crucial.
Your side, from Fraunhofer's side.
industry, the industry partners that are in here can, of course, contribute much better and detail more. But, well, from what I also have been hearing, from what has been discussed in here, I would say that we are already doing it, actually, right? So the path is in front, is to continue.
Thank you. Patricia, your opinion.
Well, and even I would say, just going back to Sunday and the words of our Prime Minister, António Costa, he mentioned our conquers 100 years ago, and Portugal is historically a country of conquerors. I think that when we had in 2009 the world economic crisis, Portugal suffered, we all know that, but I think we've recovered in a way that maybe was not expected. We were seen like the poor brothers and sisters from Europe. We are no longer, let us be clear on that. And we have a capability and a capacity that outstands even bigger countries. We have the third highest rate of engineers, and we are a country with 10 million people. This on itself is significant for what we can bring. Not only that, is when we go to highest levels and degrees of education, we also have 3 business schools in the top 50 in the world. This is also very significant. I think in Europe we are only outcasted by the UK. So all these factors give Portugal an advantage that comes to us, that we need to know how to use for our own benefit. And sometimes we forget that we do have these skills, we do have these things to bring to business. I told you that we have this new unit in Austria, so who would expect that 2 Germans that go to Portugal then someday come and conquer Austria, in a sense, let's say. But this is what we can do and what we can bring. For that we have to believe in ourselves, be extremely agile, and keep our competence and our knowledge, invest in our people, especially in middle management level. That's where most of our problems or opportunities to evolve are. This is known all over the world, not only happening in Portugal. So we are, I say that more than partners, we can be co-creators of solutions all over the world. Germany is, of course, has been a player and a partner for many years, and we can develop this further and service and bring new solutions to other companies.
Thank you very much. I agree with you. Thank you. Very nice. Pedro, your opinion.
So maybe I start with a different perspective to mix up a little bit. Yeah. So before going straight to the answer, I would say, so which are the big challenges, or which are the market expectations in the nowadays? Yeah. And I would answer that as the whole industries, we have the life cycle of the products are much shorter. Yeah. And the time to market of the next product should also be much shorter. Yeah, and now coming to your question, what does Portugal have who can play a role on that? And I think we answered a lot on that. There is obviously, I think it's clear that Portugal is no longer seen as a low labor cost country. Otherwise, we would have no chance because of the shorter life cycle, the shorter time to market, and the very big asset that we have, it's what you mentioned before, the flexibility. So we discovered the world 500 years ago, so we are with the engineering force, and I think this mindset change which Portugal made some years ago, I would say we should be very lucky because of that, and that allows us to have in our teams, in our companies, not only the capability to produce something, but also to be part of the whole value chain. And I think, in my opinion, that's a big drive which enabled Portugal in the nowadays to be really a strong partner for a lot of different industries.
Thank you. a last question from your side. Is there anybody who wants to ask anything? Okay. All good things come to an end. We had today, and in this session, a very interesting description and very relevant cases that described the complete ecosystem around engineered parts and solutions. From successful R&D transfer to the companies, for example, Adidas with Fraunhofer Portugal, the largest organization for applied research in Europe, in Portugal also, to education, training and skilled human resources with the support of IMAP, from additive manufacturing in the case of a very fine and interesting case, Adidas. I learned today, and we are always learning, about laser-powered based fusion technology, okay, and the large-scale printing. This is something very interesting, and we have been talking about this, to the strong expertise in cutting-edge sectors as aluminium die casting from Schmidt Light Metal, fulfilling the highest standards of the automotive industry. And I agree with you. Co-creation is the key here. Or to the high-precision mechanics and optics from Leica that are integrated in premium products produced in Germany. And I noted here 3 points. They are looking also to services. This is also a good idea. Cluster of suppliers, something also very important in Portugal. And as you mentioned, now shorter time to market is key. So I agree with you all. Thank you very much for this. These are very successful cases, but we have more also in Portugal. I hope we could show you all the opportunities to source, partner and invest in Portugal. As former president of the Portuguese Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Deutsch-Portugiesische Industrie- und Handelskammer, and as CEO of a German company in Portugal, Schmidt & Sohn Elevators, I would like to stress that Portugal makes sense, and I would really add, Portugal makes absolutely sense. So thank you very much, all the experts in this panel. Thank you to Mariana Falcão, also from ICEP, for organizing this panel. And thank you for attending this conference. We will for sure be available during the Hannover Messe for any additional questions. So feel free to join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.